We have to leave now, Edith. There's no time to pack. The bank account's been frozen. Philippe and Jean are already under house arrest.
I'll fetch the carry-cot for David.
If we get separated for any reason, make for the embassy. Don't answer it. The fire escape. Quick, I'll get David.
But
do as I say. Hurry.
Open the door.
It's all right.
I'm not moving without you. Oh!
It's too late.
You are Carsten Fingal?
Yes.
We would like you to come with us, please.
What for? Where to?
I have papers here for your arrest.
On what charge? What are we supposed to have done?
Everything will be explained later.
Then you must let me contact my embassy.
That is not possible. Come. Wait, baby.
But David, no!
Your wife will join you later.
Well, what are you doing? You can't take me.
Please, do as you're told and no one will be harmed.
But why?
Edith!
No! Get out!
But not that you make no trouble.
No!
Take them.
No! No, you don't! I won't let you take my baby! Oh, Carsten! Leave David! Leave him!
I don't know who my parents are, or if they're still alive even. I don't know what country they come from. I've lived in the prison camp for as long as I can remember, and even Johannes, who knew so many things, was not able to find out anything about me. All I do know is that my name is David, and I am 12 years old. It says so on my identity card.
I Am David by Anne Holm. Adapted for radio in 2 parts by John Peacock. With Rory Copus as David. Part 1.
I was lying on my bunk in the darkness of the prison hut, thinking of what the commandant had told me just 2 hours before. You must get away, he had said.
You must escape tonight. Stay awake so that you're ready just before the guards change. When you see me strike a match, the current will be cut off and you can climb over. You'll have half a minute for it, no more.
What will happen to me if I don't escape?
That's none of my business. I'll have done everything I can to help you.
Why are you helping me?
I'm leaving tomorrow. Whatever the new commandant decides to do with you, I shan't be able to interfere. You'll soon be strong enough to do a man's work. If he wants to be rid of you, he'll work you into mines like they worked Johannes, until you drop to the ground.
But if I get over the fence without being caught, what chance have I? What do I do then?
By the big tree in the thicket on the track that leads to the mines, you'll find a bottle of water and a compass. Follow the compass southwards till you reach Salonika, and then, when no one's looking, get on board a ship that's bound for Italy, and hide. When you get to Italy, go north till you come to a country called Denmark. You'll be safe there.
I don't know what a compass is. I won't know anybody.
Here, you see? A compass. These 4 letters indicate north, south, east, and west. And the needle, which swings freely, always points in the same direction. To the north. Do you understand?
Yes.
The half minute the current's off is meant for you. If you try to take anyone with you, neither of you will get away. Now get back to the hut before you're missed.
I want a piece of soap.
Now get out.
Do you know who my parents are?
Remember, the moment I strike the match.
I tried to work out why the Commandant seemed to be helping me. He'd always hated me as I'd hated him. It could be a trap. Just as I was climbing over, the searchlight would suddenly swing round and catch me, and then they would shoot. But if they did shoot me, it would all be over quickly anyway. I wouldn't spend month after month dying slowly in the mines. I decided to try. I slipped out of the hut and hid myself in the gap between the walls of the guardroom and the Commandant's office, and waited. It was the Commandant. The yellow light from the guardroom shone for a moment on his face as he passed the window. He went up to the guard on duty and spoke to him. The guard left. Then he struck the match. I had 30 seconds. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I was over the fence and threw myself down in the safety of the thicket. I could faintly hear the tread of the guard, but it came no nearer and sounded no different from usual. And there was the bundle. A square handkerchief tied crosswise over a bottle of water and a compass. Just as the Commandant had said, there was also a large loaf of bread and a pocket knife. So he had wanted me to escape after all. A search party would be sent out for me in the morning, but not before. For the rest of the night I was safe. It was up to me to make the most of it. And I ran. All night. And for the next 3 nights. Salonika. Every night I ran, and I ran all night long. Salonika. I kept on repeating the word over and over again to myself until it seemed to fill my brain. Salonika. Go south till you reach Salonika. Think of nothing else. When my feet could carry me no further, I tumbled into a ditch beside the road, Salonika. Too tired to crawl out. I didn't care what happened to me. I had to sleep. And sleep I did. Until... I held my breath. I thought that in a moment all would be over. Everything.
Why stop now? We'll be in Salonika before midnight.
To see the lights of the taverna, boss. A bottle of wine, a plate of souvlaki, an ouzo or two.
No, 3 or 4.
Oh, what difference is half an hour? 30 little minutes.
Nikos.
While we're standing here, we could already be eating.
In 3 hours, you could be in Salonika with Katrina's arms around your neck.
Oh, Katrina's hands around my throat, and the baby crying, and the old crow of her mother asking, "Where have you been, Nikos? What have you been doing, Nikos? How many drachma, Nikos? Would you allow me 30 minutes of peace and enjoyment?"
Half an hour.
I will teach you how to live, boss.
I caught the word Salonika. As soon as the 2 men disappeared into the taverna, I ran to the van, crept in the back, and waited. It was some time before I was on my way again. I had seen cars and lorries, but I had never ridden in one. I suddenly knew what it felt like to be in one of the cells they had talked about in the camp, locked up in inky blackness without being able to move. I tried to stop my thoughts, the beatings of the prisoners, the horrors of the camp. And then I thought of Johannes. Johannes, who I could talk to about anything, and who at last had died working the mines for them. I thought I heard his voice. "I'm here. I'm with you, David." And suddenly I felt exactly as I did when he was with me. And after that, I wasn't so frightened.
night, Alexis.
Night, Nikos.
The men stopped the van while it was still dark and left it without looking in the back. I jumped out and found myself in the middle of a large town. I had no difficulty in finding the harbour, and the first ship I saw had Italy painted on it in large white letters. No one heard me as I slipped aboard and clambered down to the bottom, where I found a great dark room filled with so many packing cases that I could barely squeeze myself in. I lost count of the hours, for it was dark all the time. Once when I woke, I picked up a strange bottle in mistake for my own. Whatever I drank very soon made me feel sleepy, and after that I took a drink from it every time I felt panic. What was I doing? Why didn't I just give myself up? I sometimes thought I would rather die than go on. Then, suddenly, there was light. Whoever it was couldn't see me. My heart thumped as he searched the cargo, looking for something. Then, as I crept back, I knocked over the bottle.
What the... Come out, show yourself. Mamma mia, what are you doing here? Huh? What are you doing?
Nothing, Signor.
Look at you, holy mother, what a sight! Where have you sprung from, eh? How old are you?
12.
I'll to haul you up to the deck!
No, please, Signor, no! No.
Hey, it's all right. Shh, it's all right. So it's you's been drinking my wine, huh?
Yes. I'd no more water in my bottle. I didn't know it was wine. Thank you.
Cazzo! Never have I met such a child. First you drink my wine and then you thank me for it. Now, if that isn't the cheek of the devil. Where did you think you'd get to?
Italy?
Yeah, well, I suppose I should hand you over to the captain. That is what I should do.
Yes, Signor.
Crazy boy.
Yes, Signor.
On the other hand, we shall be in Salerno this evening.
Is that in Italy, Signor?
Yes.
Oh.
And why should I make trouble for myself dragging you along to the captain, eh?
I don't know, Signor.
Where are you from? Are you running away from something or to something?
Both, Signor.
Well, what if I let you jump overboard just before we dock, and then I shan't have had anything to do with it? I'll not say I saw you, and you'll not say you saw me. Is it a bargain?
I can't swim.
Holy mother, I wash my hands of the whole thing. I'll give you a lifebelt and you'll have to drift ashore now. Get some sleep.
It's really very kind of you not to let the captain arrest me.
Why are you so frightened? I'll bring some food for you tomorrow. Haven't eaten for a long time, no?
No, Signor.
It's good, huh?
Thank you.
Now, here's your lifebelt.
It is?
You put it over your head like so.
Yes.
Now, see, you must put it under your arms and move them like this to make sure that you're drifting in the right direction, or you'll be back in Salonika, not Salerno, you see.
Yes, Signor.
I'll come for you while the crew make ready to dock and slip you over the side on the end of a rope.
The man lowered me gently over the side of the ship.
Don't splash until we're some way off, otherwise you might be hurt.
Yes!
Angelo! I'm a mento! Good luck, ragazzo!
Thank you, Signor! I looked back at the ship as it sailed on. For a moment I thought I was going to drown. It might very well have been an easy way they sent people to their death, a belt like that. It looked like a car tire, but I didn't drown, and I didn't even have to fling my arms about, for the ship made strong waves that drove me nearer and nearer to the dark line of the coast. I reached the shore and stumbled onwards in the darkness, uphill all the time, until I could go no farther. When I woke, I was no longer tired. I don't know how long I stayed there on the mountainside, sitting quite still, just looking at the beautiful scenery. Far below, the sea was bluer than any sky I'd ever seen. Suddenly I knew that I didn't want to be caught. I didn't want to die. Now that I had seen such a lovely sight, I wanted to live. I knew at once what I was going to do first. There was water, a stream glinting in the sunshine. At last the sun glistened on a drop of water as it fell from my hand to my knee. I wiped it off, but it left no tide mark. There was no more dirt to rub away. I was David. Everything else was washed away. The camp, its smell, its touch. And now I was David, my own master, free. Free as long as I could remain so. But how could I stay free when I didn't know what everybody else knew? I didn't even know what was good to eat and what was poisonous. And what about the people themselves? I'd have to keep right away from them, but at the same time I would have to get to know something about how men lived outside a prison camp. And so I decided that I would go into the town that I could see farther along the coast. It would not be as dangerous as it would be later, but no one could yet know where to look for me. People were laughing. It sounded as if they were all happy. Perhaps there were not so many of them here in Italy, or perhaps just not any in this town. A church? If there's a cross, then it's a church, Johannes had once told me. I was standing beside a shop, looking hungrily at some flat loaves with tomatoes on top. I was starving.
Hi! Hey, you want a pizza? Oh, well, perhaps the young fellow is not so hungry after all, eh? Yeah, I'll put it back.
No! Yes, I am.
Here.
Oh, thank you very much, Signor. As I ate the pizza, I read something on a wall about a circus, a kind of theatre with animals that travelled about. If anyone questioned me, I would say I came from one and was going to rejoin it somewhere else, far away, in the north. All day, I'd not heard anyone talk about them. And that evening, as I was filling my bottle at the pump down by the seafront.
Hey, good catch today, Paolo. Enough to let me lie in for a few days.
For a moment my heart almost stopped beating. He must be one of them. Who had he caught?
Yes, they're running well. I was out early this morning, before dawn, and God was with me.
So, God was with you, was he?
Evening, Padre.
Padre. But the catch was so heavy, we broke a net and lost almost twice as many fish as we landed.
Still, there's plenty more in the sea.
I heaved a sigh of relief. But then...
Yeah, who's that boy who's been hanging around all day, do you know him?
What boy?
A thin, ragged lad. He's not from these parts. He looked hungry. I'll give him a pizza.
He was looking up at the church. I thought he'd come over for the harvest. One of Signor Missiani's casual workers.
Ah, Missiani's cheap labor.
He needs to be in the church praying if he's working for Missiani, not just looking up at it.
No, it's too early for the harvest workers yet. But I know what you mean. He's not like the other children.
No.
There's a strange, quiet look about his eyes.
Up to no good, you think?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that. But when you smile at him, he doesn't smile back. He just turns and walks away.
Perhaps we should ask him where he comes from.
Ah, shh, there he is now.
Oh, maybe he needs help.
Now, look.
Boy! Hey!
Hurry off like a puff of wind.
God bless him.
Oh, some poor mother's boy.
I had to get away at once before they began looking for me. or even send for them. I decided I must keep away from people as much as possible and remember not to look at them. If only I knew what was so strange about my eyes. What did they mean when they said they were quiet? As I ran along the cliff, I stumbled over a loose stone and my compass went flying over the edge. Before I could put my hand out to catch it, it was too late. I was lost now. I would never know where north was. I would never find Denmark. I would travel round in circles and keep coming back to the same place.
God.
And they would find me.
Oh, God.
I don't know why I said that. It was what the prisoners said in the camp when they were most in despair. But I had no God. I decided that if I had, it might help. But which one? Some people seem to leave things to a woman called Mary. Not that I had anything against women, but it might be better to choose one who looked after things himself. Johannes had told me about another David, who had lived a long time ago. I tried hard to remember, because there was also a God in that story. Suddenly it came back to me. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He was the one I would choose. God of the green pastures and the still waters, I am David, and I choose you as my God. But you must please understand that I can't do anything for you, because I know nothing about what people ought to do for their God. I pray you will help me so that they won't catch me again. Then perhaps I can gradually find out about you so that I can do something in return. I am David. Amen. I was glad I'd thought of it. A God would be a lot better than a compass. Though, of course, it would have been nice to have both. Bread was my chief problem. There was so much to eat in Italy that people seemed to leave food lying about without realizing it. An orange or a tomato, but never bread. And bread you had to have if you were not to starve. If I did not find any the next day, I would have to ask God for some. That same evening, I came upon a parked car. A man was rummaging in the boot.
Blast it!
He was quite an ordinary man.
Now what have you done?
Lost my spectacles.
Oh, Donald, really?
I stepped forward without thinking what I was doing.
I'll help you find them.
What? Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. It's not much good looking for glasses when you haven't got them on, is it?
No, not really.
I found them almost straight away, but the man had stepped over to the car and was talking to someone inside. Was he one of them, after all? Could I escape? How far could I get? It was only a second before he turned round.
Can't you find them? If you can't, my wife will drive.
Here they are, sir.
You must have something for your trouble.
No, I mean, no thank you.
Ah, well, in that case, you must accept my thanks. Come and say hello to my wife. Come on. Alice, have you ever come across an Italian beggar boy who spoke such good English and was offended when you offered him money? What's your name?
I am David. I'm on my way to join a circus farther north.
Circus? Nothing so exciting for us. We've just come from Naples. We're over from England on holiday, but we're reaching the end. Soon be on our way home.
Naples? Is that north?
Why, yes.
Donald, why don't we have our sandwiches now that we've stopped? Maybe David would like to join us.
Would you, David? Like a sandwich?
A sandwich?
We've some ham and some cheese.
Yes, please.
Good.
I like cheese.
I'll get them out.
Is there a king in England?
At the moment, there's a queen, because the last king only had daughters.
She wears a very fine golden crown.
Does she?
I didn't see that it mattered what she wore as long as the people were free. I'd learned in the camp that people always were free in those countries that had kings, or of course, queens.
May I take my sandwich with me for later?
But of course, if you'd rather.
Take two, Donald. Give him another.
There we are. One of each.
Thank you. Can I go now?
Look, Yes, of course you can.
But, David, before you do, I would like to see you smile.
I felt awkward. Her face had an anxious look, as if she were waiting for me to give her something. But I had nothing to give. I'm sorry. I don't know how to do it.
What, dear? You don't know how to smile?
I'm sorry. Really. Can I go now?
Just a minute, David. Donald, we can't just let him go like that. He's so young. He might be English. You can see he's not just a tramp. Those eyes.
The boy's frightened. And the longer we keep him here, the more frightened he'll become. We can't get mixed up in it, Alice, and I'm sure he's not English. You're not English, David, are you?
No, sir. But there was a man in the circus who was English. Won't you let me go now? Please, sir.
Of course you may go, David.
If there was any way in which we could help you, you would tell us, wouldn't you?
Yes, but there isn't. Really. Thank you.
But, David!
David!
They were obviously kind, and yet they didn't want to let me go, especially the woman. She seemed to think she ought to keep me there. I couldn't understand it. And the man had wanted to give me money. I suddenly thought that if I managed to stay free, there might be other things that I could do to get money. I wouldn't be able to avoid people, of course, but if only I could get to the bottom of what was wrong with my eyes and learn how to smile, then perhaps I would manage after all. He said Naples was north. The idea of earning some money was a good one. I fetched coffee for people who sat eating in a restaurant, and I was given some money by French people who were afraid of having their luggage stolen from the car while they went into the church. But I pressed on to Perugia after just 2 days. As I walked, I thought over another plan. I'd seen a man walking down the road, and when a car came along, he'd held up his hand and stopped it. The driver had put his head out and asked if he wanted a lift, and the man said, yes please, he did, and got inside. I'd get to Denmark twice as quick if I did that, but I couldn't make up my mind whether I dared try it. The trouble is you had to say where you were going, and, if it was me, suppose the driver got suspicious. If he did, I'd be caught. I couldn't get out of a moving car. It was the same reason why I would never, ever go into a house. Once inside, if they found you, you'd be trapped. The thought frightened me, but I didn't give up the idea. Sometimes I got money by helping people on the road. Americans were most likely good people, for they were the ones they hated most, so I felt safe. All that was wrong with Americans was that they spoke English very badly and always acted as if they were proud of having so many things. There was one thing, however, that 2 Americans did not have. They had no petrol.
Oh, no, Harry. I said we should have filled her up before we left Perugia.
Well, I didn't, goddammit, Rose.
Please don't swear, dear.
I didn't think.
No, you never do. That's your trouble.
So tell me now, Rose, and I'll listen. What are we gonna do?
I know what I'm gonna do. Get back in this rattle trap till you fetch some.
Can I help and get some for you?
Who are you?
I'm David.
Well, that's very kind of you, but where will you find any?
There's a village farther up the side of the hill.
Here's the can.
But I haven't any money to pay for the petrol.
He's nothing but a young beggar, Harry. You can bet your bottom dollar if we give him money, we shall never see him again. He can get a garage to send help.
I wondered if they thought I was stupid. They certainly seemed to think I could understand them only when they spoke very slowly.
Perhaps it would be better and easier for you if you could get a mechanic to drive down with the petrol. The can's a bit heavy for you to carry.
The people here don't like doing very much on Sundays, but I'll see if I can get the petrol by promising to pay for it later. Unless, of course, your wife thinks I want to keep your can.
Oh, nonsense, boy. Then you'd have to go twice. My wife was only thinking you might drop the money in the dark.
Will you look after my bundle while I go? Then I can carry the can better. Both the man and the woman went red in the face, and I set off without waiting for an answer, leaving my bundle with them. When the garage owner heard that it was an American car that had run out of petrol, they insisted upon sending one of the garage hands down with enough to fill the tank. The man gave me a lift on his Vespa. I handed the American his unused note and, taking my bundle, turned to go.
Wait a bit, boy. You must have something for your trouble.
No, thank you. I don't need any money today. That was not true, but it felt good to say so. It was like saying, I am David, and I belong to myself, and no one has any right over me. Later, at the bottom of my bundle, I found a cigarette packet, and inside it there were 2,000 lira. You could get practically nothing for 1 lira, but 2,000. There was also something written on a slip of paper. A letter. I'd never had a letter, and I found it very difficult to read handwriting, and I'd never tried reading English.
We are very sorry we thought you might steal. Not all boys are honest, you know, but we are sorry we suspected you. Rose and I would be glad if you would make use of this money to show you had no hard feelings towards us.
And then came a name that I could not read. The result was that in the next village I bought a loaf of bread, a cake of soap, a comb, a mirror, a pair of scissors, a pencil, and a small pad of notepaper, because for a long time I'd wished I could write better, and I still had enough money to buy bread for days. I cut my hair. The tufts at the back of my neck were a bit difficult, but all in all, I didn't do too bad a job. I took a good look at my eyes in the mirror, but couldn't understand in what way they were strange. I also practiced smiling, but I couldn't get it right, and in the end I gave up. I wanted to try out my plan of getting a ride, but every time a lorry approached, I wasn't brave enough. I could feel my heart beat faster and my throat grow tight, so there was nothing else for it. God of the green pastures and the still waters, I am David. If you're strong enough to do something about what people think and feel, then will you please take this fear away, just long enough for me to wave to a lorry? And if it isn't greedy to ask for 2 things at once, will you please let it be a good man that comes in the next one? I haven't yet found anything I can do for you. I am David. Amen.
Where are you going, boy?
Perugia! My plan had gone off very well. Perhaps I'd stop another, but I'd have to do it on my own. I couldn't keep asking God for things. He'd soon grow tired of me if I never did anything for myself. I didn't know that the very next day something would happen that I could not tackle alone, and I still would not ask for help. I left the road outside Perugia and walked through a forest. I still couldn't make up my mind whether they were really after me or not. If they were, it wasn't because I knew anything, but I could have been a useful hostage. Suppose, say, my father had been their enemy, then they might have had a hold over him with me in their power. Not that I really believed it, but there must be some reason that would make them want to find me, and that was as near as I could get. Suddenly I could hear music. It was coming from a big house close by among the trees. There I was again, walking along without thinking where I was going.
Hey, you! You know you're trespassing, trampling on private property in broad daylight. I'll show you. You need a damn good hiding. So you won't hit back, eh? Scared to fight? Use your fists, you little rat.
No.
Maybe you like being beaten up.
No, I don't.
Well, why didn't you get up and fight then?
Because if I hit you back, I'd be no better than you.
You're stupid.
You can hit me as much as you like, but you'll have to catch me first.
Idiot! You're just yellow!
I was sick. and every time I thought about him, I felt like being sick again. He was just like the guards in the camp, the only difference being that the guards did not leave off till their victims passed out. I ran and ran till I found myself beside a small lake. I took my clothes off and put them in the water. I scrubbed myself all over. I must not leave a spot unwashed where the boy had touched me, and then set my clothes out to dry. I lay down beside them and made an effort to calm myself and forget the boy. It was then that I heard the sound of children playing.
I'm Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier.
I want to be Davy.
Well, you can't.
Why not? Because you're a girl.
Anyway, I'm Davy.
From where I was, I could see them, but they could not see me. People were always talking about children playing, but playing seemed to mean so many different things that I'd given up trying to find out what it was.
Why not me? I've got the hat, haven't I? Whoever's got the hat has to be Davy. First, you and I will be Indians, and we'll capture Maria and tie her up in the shed.
I don't want to be tied up in the shed.
It's not really a shed. It's your ranch house. Then later, I'll come and rescue you.
Who am I?
You can be my brother.
But I am your brother. That's not playing.
Davy Crockett's brother, idiot.
I didn't know he had a brother.
That's because he didn't do anything special. All right, I know. You can be the Indian chief. I get to kill you when I come back to rescue Maria.
I thought it sounded silly, but that was probably because I didn't really know what ordinary children were like.
Why do I always have to be the one who gets killed?
The girl went into the shed, where I suppose they tied her up, and so there was nothing more to watch. I was very tired too, and thought I might just as well take a nap. Then perhaps they would go off with the girl, and I could be on my way.
The shed! Andrea!
I was wakened by shouting and crying.
The shed! It's on fire!
What did you think you were up to?
It's on fire! What can we do?
I'll get Carlo and Father.
She'll burn to death!
Carlo! Father! Help!
I grabbed my clothes and dipped them into the lake. A man in the camp had once escaped from a burning building by wrapping wet clothes round his head to keep the smoke out, and he had not got burnt about the face. God of the green pastures and running waters, please don't help me. I want to do this by myself for you. I am David. Amen. I plunged into the burning shed. I wound my wet shirt loosely around the girl's face, then cut through the rope. The little girl had fainted, and I had to carry her. Blazing bits of wood fell like rain as I fought my way out. And then it was all over. I got back through the door as it collapsed in flames around us. I laid her down on the ground. I put my ear to her chest, as the men in the camp had always done to see if a person was still alive. I could hear her heart beating.
It's all right! Over here!
Who are you?
I'm David.
He went right through the burning doorway and rescued her.
Young man, you saved my daughter's life.
And only just in time. We should have been too late.
Let me take her.
I'll help.
I'm Giovanni Del Varchi.
You needn't be frightened.
I'm not frightened.
David.
Careful, Maria. David's hand must hurt him.
I think you're very brave, and I'm really sorry I hit you. Truly.
Let's get them both home quickly.
I must be on my way, Signor.
After what you've done?
Please, if you'll just give me my clothes.
What do you think my wife would say if I let you go? She'll want to thank you and put something on those burns.
But, Signor, I just want...
Boys, bring David's clothes and get the travelling rug from the car.
There was nothing I could do. We drove through a tall gateway and up to the great house I'd seen earlier. They were grateful to me for saving Maria, and I knew that as long as they didn't discover where I came from, I'd be safe. All the same, as I stepped through the doorway, my heart was thumping faster than ever before. I was doing what I swore I would never do. I was entering a house.
That was part 1 of I Am David by Anne Holm. Dramatised for radio in 2 parts by John Peacock. The part of David was played by Rory Copus. Carston, Andrew Wincott. Commandant and Harry, Sean Baker. Edith and Alice, Jane Whittenshaw. Angelo and Giovanni, Anthony Carth. Donald, Simon Treves. Teresa, Hazel Ellaby. Rose, Francis Jeter. Baker and Alexi, Stephen Critchlow. And Nikos was played by Sam Collins. Carlo, William Green. Maria, Maudie Manton. Checha, Matthew Thomas Davis. And Andrea by Greg Sheffield. Other parts were played by members of the cast. I Am David was directed by Celia de Wolf and was a Fiction Factory production for BBC Radio 4.
I think you're very brave, and I'm really sorry I hit you, truly.
Let's get them both home quickly.
I must be on my way, Signor.
After what you've done?
Please, if you'll just give me my clothes.
What do you think my wife would say if I let you go? She'll want to thank you and put something on those burns.
But, Signor, I just want...
Boys, bring David's clothes and get the travelling rug from the car.
There was nothing I could do. We drove through a tall gateway and up to the great house I'd seen earlier. They were grateful to me for saving Maria, and I knew that as long as they didn't discover where I came from, I'd be safe. All the same, as I stepped through the doorway, my heart was thumping faster than ever before. I was doing what I swore I would never do. I was entering a house. The house was full of lovely things, and there were women in black dresses and white aprons. And there was a very beautiful woman, who turned out to be the children's mother, who laughed and cried almost in the same breath. And a doctor who saw me and said I was a little burnt about the hands and arms and legs, but it would not be long before I recovered.
You must just get some sleep, and you'll feel better when you wake up.
I Am David by Anne Holm. Dramatised for radio by John Peacock. With Rory Copus as David. Part 2.
The doctor was right, too. I did feel better. God of the green pastures and the still waters, I want to thank you because I found out how to smile, and thank you, too, for being pleased I rescued the girl for you. I would rather not do anything like that too often. Will you please let it count for the next 3 times I ask you to help me? I am David. Amen.
Oh, David, you're awake. I brought you some clothes in case you want to get up. Or stay in bed if you'd rather. How are your burns?
My ankles hurt, but not badly. And I would like to get up, please. These aren't my clothes.
No, yours are being washed. They're Andrea's. I think they'll fit you.
What if I tear them?
My dear boy, After all you've done for us.
I put them on. There are pockets in these trousers.
Yes, there are.
I look quite like an ordinary boy now, don't I?
Of course you do. And you look a very handsome boy and a brave one. Come. The children are impatient to see you, and I expect you're hungry.
A little.
You must stay with us for a while, David, at least until you're fully recovered. Of course, you're welcome to stay even longer.
Unless, that is, you're expected back with the circus immediately.
Can I go now, this very minute? If I want to.
But if that's what you'd rather do...
If I can go whenever I want to, then I'd like to stay for a bit. Yes, thank you. I don't have to join the circus just yet.
We shall be very grateful to you as long as we live, David. It's something we shall never forget.
So, is there anything particular you'd like to do?
I think most of all, I'd like a book to read. I'd like to hear some music too, but most of all, to read a book.
What kind of book?
It doesn't matter really, but it has to have been published before 1917.
Why?
It doesn't matter. I didn't dare tell him it was because I wanted to be sure that what was in it was true and not something they had made up.
All right, drink your milk now, children, and then you can take David out to play. Not too roughly, mind. You must be careful of his burns.
I had particularly wanted to learn how to play, but they only ever wanted to be other people.
2 of us will be soldiers and take the others prisoner.
All right, and I'll be captain over the soldiers. That's if you don't want to be David.
I won't play anything evil and horrible.
Neither will I. You're so funny. Why is he funny? What's evil and horrible about that?
I won't have anything to do with pretending to take people prisoner. No one has any right to do that.
What if he's a murderer then? Shouldn't he be put in prison either? Or a thief? Or something like that?
I don't know. Yes, a murderer. He should go to prison to stop him murdering more people. But no one should lay hands on him or starve him.
Oh, do let's get on with it. Let David decide what he wants to be then. When are we going to play?
I'll be David, who's come to watch you. It was only with Maria that I felt relaxed. She could always guess when anyone said something to make me uneasy. And then she was so pretty to look at, and everything about her was so gentle that I felt I had to take care of her. Weeks passed. It was growing colder. Time for the vine harvest. Time for me to be on my way. I began to wish I'd invented a different story about myself. For my tale of the circus let everyone think I'd travelled everywhere, so I couldn't very well ask where Denmark was, and it was difficult to find out from books. Then I saw the globe. It was inside a cupboard in Andrea's room. I didn't know what it was at first. Why is that ball fastened like that?
It's a globe, of course.
It's the world, David. Look, it spins round so that you can see everything just as it is.
The whole world drawn on a ball, with all the countries.
Mm-hmm.
But there are no borders marked on it.
We'll show you.
There's Italy.
It is?
I knew that.
And where are we?
I know. Let me show him.
Go on then.
Here.
That's right.
And there's France.
There's Spain and Germany, Austria and Switzerland and England.
Can you see Denmark?
There's Denmark.
It's only little and a long way from Italy.
Yes.
I could never go so far before winter set in, before they found me again. I would have to leave. I lay in my soft, warm bed and knew that I must go the next day, or at least within a day or two. There was something else I'd been thinking about since the first day I was there. Milk. Every day the children were given milk and things called vitamins, which I was given as well. But I'd had milk before. Twice a week for as long as I could remember, I'd had to go across to the commandant's office, where he'd given me something white to drink. It tasted horrible, but he told me I must drink it, or else he would have one of the prisoners beaten. I must also never tell anyone where I went and what I did, so I drank it. I now knew it was milk, so the commandant had given me something that was good for me, Something to make me strong. But why? If I'd been of some importance as a hostage, then obviously I must not be allowed to die. But in that case, why had the Commandant told me to escape? I got up and dressed. I couldn't sleep. I walked quietly downstairs to go into the garden, but just as I was going past the living room, I glanced through the door, which was slightly ajar.
Giovanni, you're going to have to do something about David.
I moved with very great care and pressed myself against the wall.
Well, what should I do about him?
I would never forget what they said.
I mean, how long do you suppose he should stay here?
I thought you liked him.
Nothing against David is David, and I'm bound to love him for saving Maria. But I can't say exactly. I just want him to go.
What have you got against him?
We don't know who he is, for a start. He arrives here out of the blue with some story about a circus, dressed in clothes worse than any beggar's, and yet he speaks Italian like a Florentine nobleman.
And French like a member of the French Academy.
He does what?
I found him with a French book the other day, and he asked me to read a few lines to him. I naturally thought he wanted them translated, but he only wanted to compare the sound of the words with the printed word. He's obviously never seen French written, but he speaks it like a native.
And I suppose he explained it away by saying there was a man in the circus who was French.
Well, yes, he did. But wherever he comes from, we owe him a lot. And as our questions seem to worry him, I think we ought to let him alone. I can't see how any of the things you've mentioned should be a reason to ask him to leave.
I think he's a bad influence on the children.
How? He talks beautifully. He has really charming manners. Bad influence? David's the gentlest boy you could wish to meet. The only effect I've seen on the children is there's not nearly so much fighting and squabbling.
No, and I almost wish there had been. You're not with them as much as I am. I don't like his attitude towards Carlo, and I don't like his relationship with Maria. He talks to Carlo only when he has to, and then he speaks politely and coldly, refusing to look at him. You look at Carlo a little more closely tomorrow. When he sees David and Andrea chattering together, he just stands there looking miserable. He knows that if he joined in, David would end the conversation and go off elsewhere. Carlo's a good boy. He's a little wild, but there's no real harm in him. I don't like seeing my eldest son trying to be nice with a lying little vagabond and then being rebuffed by him.
Well, of course not. But don't you think you might be mistaken?
No. And I like his influence over Maria even less. She worships the ground he walks on. Everything David thinks and says and does is right. She only bothers with her brothers now when it suits David.
Well, yes, but small girls often admire boys a little older than themselves. And he did rescue her from the fire. It's quite natural for her to admire him.
But not in the same way. I've overheard the two of them talking. He tells her the most abominable things about wickedness and misery and brutality. And he's told her how you can die so that it doesn't hurt. I don't know where he gets it from, and I don't care either. I want him to go, Giovanni.
Oh, I'd never have thought David had a brutal mind or an inclination to cruelty. Well, since you feel so strongly about it. But don't you think perhaps I should speak to the boy first?
Do you think that anything at all that anyone could say to David would alter by one jot what he thinks? Do you think anybody in the world could stop David being David?
No, I don't think they could, and I must say I respect him for that. I suppose I could try to find out something about him.
I'm not being heartless, Gianni. If he's done something wrong, then you could use your influence with the police. We could send him to a home or somewhere and pay for his education. But he'll have to tell you the truth so that we can decide the best thing to do.
As you wish, Elsa.
You're not to count the cost. That doesn't matter. He's to have the best of everything. Clothes, food, education, for Maria's sake. And because I could have loved him so much if he would have let me.
I'd been made aware of all that was wrong with me, and I knew I could never put it right. I heard everything you said. I shall go now as soon as I've finished writing. I only wanted to stay here as long as you wished me to. I want to thank you for letting me listen to music and read books, and for the food you have given me, and for letting me sleep in a bed. I'm glad I told Maria about evil. I don't want her to be afraid, but it's something you have to know about. I think that children have a right to know everything that's true. If there's danger, you have to recognize it, or else you don't take care of yourself. Thank you for the things you have given me. David. Maria, I had a nightmare, and I thought you were in the fire and... Shh! What's the matter? I have to go away, Maria. Oh, no, why? I told her everything her parents had said. So you see, I must go now while it's still night. But you'll come back, won't you? Even if it's not for a long time, say you'll come back. I can't say that. If I can come back someday, then I will. But I don't know, so I won't promise because a promise is important. But why do you have to go? I'd much rather you stayed. Will you take me with you? It would not be right. Besides, you wouldn't like it. I often have no food and nowhere to sleep. That wouldn't matter if you were there. You can think about me. Then I shan't be quite gone. Will you think about me too? Yes. Always? Yes. This is for you, to take with you. A cross? Why, thank you. Let me fasten it around your neck. There. Now I'm going. I put my bundle down on the table, put my arms around her, and held her tight, just for a short moment. It was like the day when I'd rescued her from the fire. Goodbye, Maria. Goodbye, David. I went quickly and, without looking at her again, shut the door softly behind me. For the first few days, I dared not risk travelling by car. I would not try asking for a lift until I was a long way from the house. I must head for Switzerland. That much I understood when I had looked at the globe. But I couldn't think properly. I felt very lonely and tired and downhearted, really. There was a small town not far ahead.
Sanctificetur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua. Good day, my son. Are you looking for something?
No, Signor.
You need not be frightened of me. As you can see, I'm a priest.
That painting... is that your god, Signor?
No, that's St. Christopher.
He's not a god?
There's only one god, my son.
I thought there were several.
What are you called?
I'm David.
So you're David. And who's your god, David?
He's the god of the green pastures and the still waters.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. It's the same God, David.
It can't be the same one, Signor. He was the god of someone who was also called David.
Yes, that's right. Those words come from the 23rd Psalm of David. I gather you must be a stranger and don't belong to our church, but believe me, David, it's the same God. We men call him by so many different names, but when we pray because we need help or comfort, it's still the same God who hears our prayers.
I'd rather keep my own god, if you don't mind, Signor. He's very strong and helps when you're frightened, and you shouldn't change your mind once you've made your choice, for you must respect what you've said.
You're perfectly right, and you've chosen well. You shall certainly not want. Do you know what want means?
Yes, it's the same as being in need, but I like the other word better.
I'm going home for something to eat. If you're hungry, you can come with me, or perhaps I can help you in some other way.
Thank you. I'm not hungry, but if you have a map that shows what Italy looks like, then I'd like to see where Switzerland begins.
I don't have a map, David, but Switzerland is a long way. Let me see. First there's Bologna, then Firenze, then Milano, and then there is Switzerland.
It was on Milan station that I saw the paper. I'd been earning some money by carrying luggage for people, when suddenly I saw my own name. I was resting on a bench, for the last case had been very heavy. An Italian was sitting by me, and when he got up to go, he left his paper. There on the back page I saw my own name, and read, "David, do not be afraid. We are not
We're not searching for you, but we should be glad if you would come back and live with us. We believe everything you said. Maria's parents."
It was addressed to me. There was no doubt about that, and I was glad of it. Yet I knew I could not go back to them. I would always hate Carlo, and I would always be different and out of place. And I would not be able to tell them what they wanted to know, for if I did, they would be forced to send me back to them. God, God of the green pastures and the still waters, I'm not praying for help because I'm David, and that's something that can't be altered. But I want you to know that I found out that green pastures and still waters are not enough to live by, and nor is freedom. Not when you know there's love and you haven't anyone you belong to. I'm saying this to tell you that you needn't help me to escape from them anymore. It doesn't matter. Thank you for the times you helped me when I still thought life might be a little worth living. I am David. Amen. The Swiss frontier lay in the next village. There was a barrier across the road, and soldiers who examined people's passports before they were allowed to drive on. But I had no papers. I made my way along a narrow byroad, and not until I had been walking for an hour did I turn northwards. The next town should be called Lugano. I would buy a loaf there, and perhaps some cheese as well. But I did not reach Lugano. I sat down on a low wall, gazing at the lake below. Why was I going to Denmark? Why didn't I just walk back to the frontier and give myself up?
Hello, boy.
Signora?
I'd like you to let me paint you, if you've time.
I've plenty of time, but I don't know what it's like to be painted. Where do you want to paint? The woman was unfolding a wooden stand, beside which was a black box of colours.
Here. I just set up my easel.
I walked over to her and looked at the easel.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted to paint a picture.
Can you paint beautiful pictures, Signora?
No, they're terrible. But just trying is something, isn't it? You always go on hoping that one day you'll manage it.
Yes, but one day you may realise you'll never be able to.
Can you sit still?
Yes.
Well, I'm sure that's not true.
It is. I swear it.
I must beg your forgiveness, young man. You obviously can sit still.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. You may move your head and talk now if you want to. As long as you keep the rest of your body still.
Thank you, Signora. But I have nothing to talk about.
I see.
Several hours passed by. The sun sank lower and lower, and the shadows grew longer. Suddenly, she said,
You're a fool, boy. Why didn't you say it was late? You must be worn out with all this sitting still.
No, I don't mind.
Well, if you're hungry, you'll better help me pack up. Then we can go home, and I can get you something to eat for your trouble.
She lived in a small but beautiful house, right on the edge of the lake.
And you can make yourself useful by laying the table while I prepare the food. Oh, where did you learn to set a table?
I did it to look pretty. I mean beautiful when I eat.
I beg your pardon. I'd no intention of being nosy.
I picked the pink flower from outside the window for you.
And you're perfectly right. What one does every day should be done beautifully. It's very sensible and proper. So, sit down and we'll eat.
Is there a king in Denmark?
Yes, there is. I must see if I can find a picture of him. How did you know I was Danish? Oh, of course, you probably live down in the village.
No, I didn't know you were. I only wanted to know whether there was a king.
Well, I am Danish anyway. My name's Sophie Bang. Silly name.
I'm called David.
David? One rarely hears that name outside Britain.
Do you think it's a British name?
No, it comes from the Bible. Most names do originally. It's found in many places, but I've only known one person of that name myself, and him I never even saw.
You didn't see him?
But there's no reason why I should tell you about that. It was a very sad story. A story of great wickedness.
So we spoke of other things. She showed me a magazine with a big picture on the front cover, a photograph of the King and Queen of Denmark. I examined it closely.
Well, do you think it's a good photograph?
I don't know what a king and queen ought to look like, but they don't look like people who would break their promises or take people's lives or freedom away from them, so they must be all right. Thank you for showing them to me. I lay in a bed again that night. Signora Bang told me that I could stay overnight if I had nothing else to do, and then spend the next day with her. I told her my tale of the circus. I didn't like telling it, but what else was I to say? And I had to say something when she asked me if I was expected anywhere. I found it difficult to go to sleep. I was not quite so miserable any longer. After all, I'd always known it didn't matter whether I died or not. It was only after my escape that I'd come to think I really did want to live. But I couldn't get back to my old habits. I could no longer think of nothing as I had trained myself to do in the concentration camp. When I woke the next morning, I could hear the Signora talking to someone.
Oh, how lovely to see you, Pierre.
And I decided to stay in my room until she was alone again.
It's good to see you.
I opened the door a little to hear them more clearly.
I thought you might like a ride across the lake.
No, I'm sorry, but not today. I'd like to, but I have a visitor. A boy I'm painting.
One of the youngsters from the village?
No, he belongs to a circus.
A circus?
Someone has broken his spirit.
Ah, a boy's spirit is not so easily broken, you know, Sophie.
It's not been done easily, but whoever it was succeeded in the end.
Then I think you ought to do something about it. If it's as you say, and the poor boy is wandering about by himself, it's our duty to inquire into his circumstances and help him.
What can one do to help a broken heart? And as for his circumstances, I've no right to interfere. He could be given money so that he could go by train to join his circus and wouldn't have to walk. But neither you nor I have any money to spare. And I gather he thumbs lifts most of the way.
Well, I must be going.
Yes, he'll be down soon. I'll finish his painting and give him lunch before he sets off again. Thank you, Pierre.
When the man had gone, I went downstairs. After breakfast, I sat for the Signora again, and while we were resting after lunch, she said I could look through her books. I didn't settle down to read anything, for I found a large photograph album on the bookcase. Did you take all of these photographs, Signora?
Most of them. Not the ones I'm in, of course.
So many countries. Some of the pictures were loose in the back of the album, and one bigger than the rest fell out.
That's that done.
Who's that?
Let me see. Oh, that's a friend of mine. She's called Edith Yorth Finger.
Will you tell me about her?
Whatever for?
Because her eyes look as if she'd known a great deal, and yet she's still smiling.
You're a shrewd boy, David. Her story's mostly a sad one. She lived abroad with her husband in a country where the political situation made it necessary to be very careful, and her husband wasn't. It's a very grown-up story, David, which I hope you're still not old enough to understand. One night the police arrested them, all three of them, her husband, herself, and their little boy, who was then only a year old. He was the one who was called David, just like you, and who I never saw. They killed her husband and the child, And Edith only got away because one of her guards knew her and was in love with her. He got papers for her and smuggled her across the frontier, and now she lives at home in Denmark, Copenhagen. And he's well as you can be when you've once been through great unhappiness. All suffering has an end, David, if only you wait long enough. Try to remember that. Sorrow has its life, just like people. Sorrow is born and lives and dies. And when it's dead and gone, someone's left behind to remember it. Exactly like people.
I asked her the name of the guard. It was the same as the commandant. My commandant.
What's the matter, David?
I behaved as if nothing had happened. Nothing, Signora. But I understood almost everything. The man had saved the woman's life, and he saved my life because I was her child. He had sent me to Denmark to find my mother. Winter had set in by the time I reached the mountains. The wind was blowing icy cold, and the snow was falling so thickly that I could not see my hand in front of me. I had little strength left, but I was determined not to die. I would go on and on until I came to Denmark and found the woman who I knew must be my mother. I would let nothing stand in my way, neither snow, nor cold, nor mountains. But the snow continued. I had no feeling in my legs. I was soaked to the skin. Sleep. I wanted to lie down. Sleep. Must sleep. I had to lie down. Sleep. Please.
King, have you found something? What kind of no-good thief would be staggering about in this sort of weather?
Leave him alone.
Tell me about yourself. Or do you want me to beat it out of you?
No, Signor.
Let the boy be, Hans. You're always so stupid. He can work. I'll not meddle with that, and the stable's good enough for him. He won't make a fuss. But if you lay hands on him, like as not, he'll murder us in our beds. You've got free labor for the winter, and that will have to do. Then we can hand him over to the police in the spring.
That winter was the longest I'd ever known, but I knew that I would have died of hunger and cold tramping the roads. At least I had shelter. I was not given much food, only dry bread and cold scraps, yet I had more to eat than in the camp, and it tasted no worse. Sometimes, in fact, a little better. They thought they were making me suffer by leaving me to sleep alone in the dark stable, but night was my pleasantest time. In the camp I'd never been alone, and I liked to be left by myself to think in peace. Then the dog came. One evening as I lay awake, he came into the stable to lie down beside me. I touched his head and stroked his thick fur coat, just once. He lifted his head and turned towards me, and I felt his warm, wet tongue carefully licking my hand. And so I and the dog became friends. One morning the sun shone through the tiny little window high up under the roof that had always been covered thick with frost. The ice was starting to melt. I knew that spring was on its way, but that very night the farmer pushed the great bar into place across the stable door.
It's time, Greta. Spring's coming. Tomorrow we'll hand him over to the police.
You've locked the dog in with him.
Let them have their last night together.
God of the green pastures and still waters, why did you let him do this? All through winter I haven't complained or asked you to make things better, though I've 2 lots of help left over from saving Maria. I suppose you're tired of me. Anyway, I think you're cruel letting him bar the door, and I'm sorry I didn't choose a better God. I am David. Amen. I realized I was wrong afterwards. God just wanted to teach me a lesson. I've been cruel myself when you think about it. Carlo had waited patiently without complaining. He'd said he was sorry for hitting me lots of times, and I wouldn't forgive him. Perhaps Carlo wasn't really evil, but just didn't understand. He'd done his best to be friends with me, and been very upset when I'd refused. All the same, the stable door was barred, and I would have to get away. But the door was impossible, and the window too small. But I managed to make a hole in the rotten wood of the stable wall, and dig a way up through the snow. Then I was out in the open. No, King, you've got to stay here. No! Get off! Get back! King! But he would not leave me. I was David. I was free and strong. The long winter had passed. I was going down to meet the spring and to find my mother. King trotted along by my side, sometimes running on ahead, but always returning to keep me company. As soon as I could, I bought a stamp and an envelope. I didn't want God to think I'd forgotten the lesson of the barred door. To Carlo, I want you to know I'm no longer so sure you're bad. Perhaps you just don't understand about things. So I don't hate you, because I only hate those who are evil. Will you thank your parents for writing the letter in the paper? And will you say I've written to you? Tell Maria first, and tell her I've seen a tree full of blossom that's made me think of her. David. Lucerne, Basel. I knew I had to keep to the north, but apart from that, I had only a rough idea of the route I must follow. I left Basel along the road that was signposted to Germany. Another frontier post. There were police about, but they were busily occupied examining a man's papers, a tall man driving a big car. So I turned off the narrow road and I ran up the hillside and back to the road on the other side of the barrier into Germany. But I had not been walking above a minute or two when the car I had just seen pulled up in front of me.
Well, my little vagabond, you slipped across that frontier pretty smartly, eh?
Yes.
Where are you going?
Brunswick?
I can give you a lift to Frankfurt, if your dog can behave himself.
Thank you. I think he can, but I'm not sure.
Well, you're honest at any rate.
When we reached Frankfurt, he gave me 5 of the coins they used in Germany. Marks, they were called.
I'm not sure you aren't a little rascal. But you've a clear look in your eye and your dog loves you, so you must be a good boy, whatever you are. You haven't run away from your parents, have you, David?
No, sir.
So what have you run away from?
Nothing.
You're running away from nothing?
Thank you for giving us food and for driving us such a long way. Come on, King. As I walked down the street, I could sense him watching me. It's all right, King. When I reached the corner, I turned to look at him. He raised his hand and waved to me, and I waved back. I knew they must still have been looking for me, of course. The Commandant's influence was limited, and he wouldn't have been able to stop them, but nobody knew where I was. The sun was shining and my worries vanished. Come on, King. It's all right. Denmark was almost within reach. Denmark and the woman who was my mother. We must have been going for half an hour before I suddenly sensed danger. It was dusk, and I'd been busy looking for a good place to sleep. Something was wrong. That building farther down the hillside, and the man standing outside it, and the car. Whoever he was, he'd told them. It's no good, King. They've won. I lay as still as death behind a bush. There was no doubt about it. They'd found me. Shh, good boy. Shh. They were much too close, and I would never be able to get away. They would hear me as soon as I moved. My freedom would end where it began, at the point of a rifle, for I would not stop when they shouted to me. No, I would run even faster, and then the shot would be fired, which had waited for me ever since that night when I had walked calmly towards the thicket to pick up my bundle. I pressed my face into King's long coat. Shh. God of the green pastures and still waters, I've one promise of help left, but it's too late. There's nothing you can do now. I shall run. Perhaps you'll see they'll aim straight, so it doesn't hurt before I die. No, I forgot. I've only one promise of help left, and it's more important. Please help King get away and find some good people to live with. Thank you for having been my God. I'm sorry for what I've said before. I'm glad I chose you. And now I must run, for if I leave it any longer, I shan't have the courage to die. I am David. Amen. No, we can't go back. It's too late. You must keep still, and when they've hit me, perhaps you can get away by yourself. Good boy. King licked my cheek eagerly, impatiently nudging me again, and moving restlessly, as if he wanted me to get up. He nudged me once more, and then jumped up before I could stop him. In one swift second, I understood what he wanted. He was going to take my place. Barking, he sprang towards the men in the dark. Run! Run! I knew it was what he wanted me to do. Run! Run!
I think it may be him. No! Boy! Come back! Boy! Come back here!
Run! Mustn't stop. Mustn't look back. Must run. Run. No. Oh no. Oh, God of pastures, why did you do it? He followed me, and I couldn't even give him enough to eat. He had to steal to get food, and now he's dead because of it. But then I realized that it was not because King followed me that he was dead. He died deliberately to protect me from them. He had diverted the danger from me and faced it himself because he wanted to. I stood in the big city that was Copenhagen and looked around me. I had watched one of the drivers make a telephone call. I went into one of the little glassed-in boxes and found the books where you could find the numbers you wanted to ring up and people's addresses. I found 6 people called Geoffrey, but there was only one with an E in front of the name.
You look lost. Can I help you?
I have to get to Strandwegen 758.
Oh, I'm afraid that's a long way off.
Oh.
But you know I'm going in that direction. I can take you most of the way in my car.
I stood for a long time looking at number 758. There were trees everywhere, with white and yellow and lilac-coloured blossom. A few yards would take me to the door, and yet I thought I would never get there. My legs could carry me no farther. If my happiest dreams came true, I could go on living. If not, this was the end. I picked up my bundle, walked to the door, and rang the bell. When the woman opened it, I knew she was the woman in the photograph. The woman whose eyes had seen so much, and yet could smile. Madame, I am David. I am...
David? My son. David.
That was part 2 of I Am David by Anne Holm, dramatised for radio by John Peacock. The part of David was played by Rory Copus, and Giovanni by Anthony Calf. Elsa, Hazel Ellaby. Hans, Simon Treves. Priest, Sean Baker. Greta, Jane Whittenshaw. Doctor, Andrew Wincott. Maria, Maudie Manton. Checha, Matthew Thomas Davis, Carlo, William Green, Andrea, Greg Sheffield. The part of Signora Bang was played by Sarah Badel. Other parts were played by members of the cast. I Am David was directed by Celia de Wolf and was a Fiction Factory production for BBC Radio 4.